And I was really frustrated with the Clique and Shawn Michaels and the power that they had in the company at the time. And I just remember going to Bret Hart and saying, man, listen, I'm wore out with this. It's driving me crazy. I need some guidance. If you could kind of give me some advice. And Bret said, why don't you come ride with me? And I was like, wow, I'll be riding with the champ, you know? So I started riding with Bret for quite a while after that. And I always thought he had my best interest at heart. But looking back later on, I kind of think that he kind of manipulated me and wound me up a little bit in certain situations where I probably wouldn't have done things. Like, I remember he was the first person to ever tell me to refuse to do a job. And the first job, that first time that happened, it happened to be the Ringmaster in his debut. They wanted me to work with him and go under to Steve Austin. And my contract was about up, and it was to the point where they weren't even putting me on TV hardly at all. And I would leave my gear out in the car because I said, I'm not working, because I had not worked for so long on TV. They kept me off TV. And then one night, last minute, they said, we need you to work a match. After they had already done the production meeting, everything was already up. The last second, they changed their mind and said, they're going to put Duke in with the new guy, Steve Austin, the Ringmaster. And so I went out and got my bag, my gear, and I brought it in the locker room. I sat down next to Bret, and I'm still just fuming. You know, they hadn't been using me at all on TV, and now when they do it once again, they want me to do a job for one of the new guys they're bringing in. And he just looked at me and he goes, I wouldn't do it. I refuse. And I'm sitting here next to the World Wrestling Federation champion, and he's telling me, don't do it, refuse to do it. I'm thinking, man, this must be the way to go. This is probably gonna be a great business maneuver. So what happened was, I went in. Bruce was in an office at that time, and he just happened to be in there alone. And I went in and sat down, and I must have looked like I was going insane, because I sat down and I just remember sitting in front of him going, what do I got to do, man? What do I got to do? You know, I just kept saying that, and his eyes got really big, Bruce Prichard. His eyes got really big, and I think he got kind of worried. And he's like, don't worry, I'm going to talk to Vince, don't worry. I think he was scared I was about to go postal on him or something. And they said, you don't have to do this match tonight, is what Bruce said. So I come out of that office, and I told Bret, they said I don't have to do it. And Fatu was sitting there, and he heard what we were talking about, and he goes, you need to go talk to Steve Austin and tell him what's going on and why. And that was a good piece of advice. And I did. I went up to Steve and I said, listen, he came up to me actually, he goes, oh, here we're working together. And I said, no, actually we're not. He goes, really? And I said, yeah, man, listen, these guys have been killing me for a long time, keeping me off TV, and tonight I decided to refuse to do a match. And it is nothing against you personally. This is what I'm telling Steve Austin. It's nothing against you personally. But I felt like I finally had to kind of take a stand. And he said, man, I understand, no problem. And later on after that, me and Steve were good buddies. We rode around a lot on the road. But that was the situation, and that was the first time Bret got me to refuse. And of course, it was at the end of my initial contract too, which is important because they were more willing to let me refuse.